Hello again, everybody. This is Rusty, aka the Blues Doctor, and this is my podcast. Although we're doing something a little bit different now. As I mentioned, we're doing a sabbatical or taking a sabbatical for the summer, but I thought I'd do some simpler stuff. Instead of tackling some of healthcare's questions, we're going to just take on a few simple topics every now and then. We'll probably throw in a charity hospital story or two here and there as well. So what I thought I'd do today for my first topic was something one of my kids asked me the other day, and that is, Dad, who were your favorite teachers, growing up in school? And I had to think about that for a minute. I said, you know what, give me some time. That's a difficult question. So I started thinking about it, and I actually started writing some things down. And once I'd done that, I realized it might be fun to share here with you all. So here's my top 5 teachers from my entire academic career. That's going from elementary school through to fellowship training. Now, I decided that I had to define the word best, at least for me, and I felt like that really meant the teacher who had the most impact on me long term. That is beyond just the time during which I was interacting with that particular individual. So using that definition, here we go. And we'll do them in reverse order. So, it's like Letterman's top 10, but we only have top 5. Number 1, John LaVecchia, BA. Mr. LaVecchia taught senior English at Christian Brothers High School, where I was a student and graduate. I couldn't find much information about him other than that, but I know by far he was the best teacher of English literature that I ever had. And I would expand that by saying not just literature, but novels, plays, operas even. Better than anyone else I ever had, including any college professor I ever had. I remember even being disappointed in college at some of the literature classes I took because none of them could break down a piece of literature the way John LaVecchia could, and made the students think about it on a level as deep as he could. Heck, we did Jesus Christ Superstar in a Catholic school, and we managed to learn, or eventually realize, how deep that work really was and how important it was to hear that story of the New Testament in a modern understanding. Isn't that amazing? I bet I'll always think about Mr. LaVecchia when I'm trying to read and understand a piece of literature. Number 4 is Brother Joel McGraw, FSC. Brother Joel taught junior English at Christian Brothers High School, and he was the musical director of the school as well. So I interacted with him in several levels. Brother Joel was excellent because you knew he really cared for you. He made every kid feel important. He made every kid feel like he took a specific interest in you. And he cared about what happened to you after you got out of his class. Maybe my favorite Brother Joel moment was when we were doing the Puritan sermons of Jonathan Edwards, and particularly the sermon called Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God, which is really cool. Brother Joel actually got up in front of the class and would deliver that sermon word to word as if he was in a pulpit to all of us, 16-year-olds in the classroom, which was really dramatic. And at points, he would even illustrate it with his hands. There's a line in that where he says, describing the sinners, "You are the most loathsome spider." And he would hold up his hand like this. So he's holding the spider. "You are the most loathsome spider poised over the pit of hell." And it was so dramatic. And we all loved it. And we have, remember it to this day. Brother Joel went on to teach for 50 years before he retired at Christian Brothers High School, and he still knew virtually all of his students by their first name. I certainly will not forget him. Number 3 is April Gale O'Quinn, MD, and this one changes pace a little bit because Dr. O'Quinn was the chief of gynecologic oncology and later the department chair of obstetrics and gynecology at Tulane University in New Orleans, which is where I did residency training. She was a fascinating person. She was the first female GYN oncologist at MD Anderson Cancer Center. She was the first female department chair at the School of Medicine at Tulane, and she encouraged me to do GYN oncology as a career. She was not warm and fuzzy. She had a tough exterior and shared very little personal information with anyone. She was not married, and when she died, there was very little fanfare. I didn't even find out about it until a couple of years after she was gone. But when I was interviewing for a GYN oncology fellowship, which was very competitive then and now, boy, she made me sound like a superstar. And she personally made sure that I was in the position to get one. In fact, she called the next person on this list to recommend me for fellowship, and I got it, so I have to thank Dr. O'Quinn for that. Number 2 was Paul Morrow, MD. Dr. Morrow was the chief of gynecologic oncology at USC LA County Hospital in Los Angeles, which was at the time the largest GYN oncology center. In other words, we saw more cancer patients than any place in the world at that time, and was arguably the most competitive fellowship program in the United States to get into. Dr. Morrow also was not warm and fuzzy. He was about as stiff and straight-laced as you can get, but he was brilliant as a teacher. He taught me the techniques of cancer surgery, but more important, he taught me how to think logically about surgery and about cancer in general. He knew there were times when you had to bend or break the rules, as they say, because of the patient's particular situation, and he made sure his fellows learned that also. He believed in academic success, publishing and getting grants and all of those things, but he also taught us to earn respect as a physician and surgeon based on our character as much as our CV. He just died a couple of years ago, and there is a $1.5 million academic chair that was funded by his former fellows at USC today. And then number 1 is Brother Stephen O'Malley, FSC. Brother Stephen taught freshman algebra at Christian Brothers High School, and he was the principal of the school. He was another one of those who was not warm and fuzzy, but you knew he truly cared about you as an individual. Most of us were terrified of him, despite the fact that he never raised his voice and he never used corporal punishment like a lot of the brothers did at that time. I think we were really just scared to disappoint him. If you gave a wrong answer or said something stupid, he would look at you and say, "Robinson, -5. It was almost robotic the way he said it, but you were so upset. You just wanted to slide under the chair and hide when he would say that to you. So what Brother Stephen really did, even kind of superseded what Dr. Morrow did. Brother Stephen taught us the students to think logically about algebra, but also about life in general, how to approach any problem in life from a logical standpoint. And I still use things I learned from him in school to this day. My favorite moment with Brother Stephen, I was walking down the hall at school early in my senior year when he walked up beside me. At first I thought I was in trouble for some reason, of course. But he said to me, "Rusty, have you made your plans for next year yet?" And I kind of mumbled something vague like, "Yes, brother, I'm going to college, and I'm taking the SAT and all that stuff." And he looked at me and said, "Well, Rusty, have you thought about joining us?" Meaning the brothers' order. And I was a little surprised, really surprised by that. And I stopped and looked at him and said, "No, brother, I'm not Catholic." And when he heard that, he just said, "Oh," and turned and walked away. I found out later from some other people that he only asked a handful of students every year from each class about potentially joining the brothers and being, taken into that order. So he considered it a big honor. And what really struck me afterwards, I realized he asked me that, so he thought very highly of me, despite the fact that he didn't even realize that I wasn't Roman Catholic. That still fascinates me to this day. So that's my top 5 teachers of all time. Maybe think about yours sometimes. You know, it's a good thought exercise to go through, I think. See you later.